good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you, right there, I see you, are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood. And here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
I do that just to amuse Mark.
I was going to say, Grant Morrison, School for the Deaf, you are not.
Robert and I have a whole thing going on now where we pantomime at each other. It's our love language.
I have long since forgotten ASL, so
God. I didn't know where you were going, and then where you landed was boring. Do that again, but make it funny.
No.
Moving on.
Demand funny on the spot. It doesn't work like that.
Well, Robert, why are we here?
Well, Mark, tonight we are discussing the latest blockbuster to come out of the Hollywood movie machine, an adaptation of a much beloved game franchise. 5 games long, 4 of them very good. Generally speaking, 5 we don't talk about. The Uncharted franchise.
We don't talk about Uncharted 5. No.
I hate that I predicted that, just for the record.
Yeah, we all did.
I said as soon as I came out of that movie, there's only one song here that anyone's going to remember. It's got a little bit of a riff to it, and it's "Don't Talk About Bruno." And
here we are.
Yeah, we're talking the Uncharted adaptation, which has been in development hell for a while. They've been trying to get this thing off the ground for quite some time.
Since the year of the flood, from what I understand.
Pretty much as soon as like the second or third game dropped, they started talking about an adaptation. It's a very cinematic game. It lends itself very easily to the big screen in some respects.
And then we got a fan film with Nathan Fillion, and everyone said, well, shit, this is actually probably better than anything we're going to get. And you know what? They were right.
They really were. There's not a more perfect, just for the record, I'm going to talk about the casting of Tom Holland and my issues with his performance, both good, bad, and otherwise. There was not a more perfect potential casting for Nathan Drake than Nathan Fillion, and I don't know how they missed the boat on that one.
Well, it would have been Nathan Fillion 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to do it now, you would have to just jump to the 4th game, essentially, and let him do the grizzled old guy, which he could still do. Like, that's...
Yeah, in defense of money, the idea is to set up a franchise with a youngster so that if you do need him for several films, because these things are billion-dollar properties, he can age appropriately with the film. If you start too old, then you don't have him for as long, and therein lies the issue. Because it's not I don't see your point about Nathan.
No.
But Tom Holland looks like he's 12. We're going to have him for a while, barring any unforeseen calamity.
Yeah, but no. And
Not going to have him for a little bit. He's confirmed he's taking a break from acting for a while.
Again, yes, but no, and I'll get into why specifically when we get into that portion of the film. Talking any further about this movie would be just kind of jumping the gun a little bit. But we also have joining us, you've heard her a few times, Alexis Hejna of Honeysuckle Rose Creations. How you doing, Alexis?
Doing good. Mark owns my soul this week.
Only this week?
Only this week.
Seriously,
I have like nothing to do in March. We were going over the schedule today. I think I've got like one show in March, and that's it.
One assigned show. I told you, but barring personality conflicts and scheduling conflicts, if there was something you wanted to be on, you just had to ask. That's always been the standing rule. All right, let's get into this series itself, Robert, and then Alexis. I have no familiarity with this product. This is not a game I've ever played. Without doing research for these kinds of podcasts, I wouldn't know it was based on a game, other than I live in this world and I happen to see certain things as they pass me by on Twitter. So, Robert, you first, and then Alexis, what is your relationship to the video game franchise?
Have played all of them. The first 4 I dearly, dearly enjoy. They are tremendous action-adventure games, a nice little blend of puzzle-solving, platforming, and gunplay. They have great characters. They tell great, expansive stories. The story here that is told in the Uncharted series is the true successor to the Indiana Jones trilogy.
You have said that on a number of occasions throughout the years we've been doing Damn You Hollywood.
And it's still true. Like you have a treasure hunter. He's got a friend that he can rely on and count on. He gets into trouble. He finds love along the way. And the 4 game story that takes place that tells, it's essentially how Nathan Drake winds up meeting his future wife. And the 4th game ends with him telling their teenage daughter they're essentially picking up where the first game does.
That's kind of How I Met Your Mother.
Sure, if you want to be like that.
Wow. Okay, can we get a freeze frame of that when you said that? But you just see something going off in Robert's brain. The minute those words left I'm sorry, Robert, but the minute those words left his mouth,
okay.
you just had the sudden like it was like that line from the Simpsons, like if you slow it down, you could see just like when his brain just stops.
I want to like just zoom into Robert's brain and you just see Lewis Black's head exploding in fire.
Something like that. But it's also the core of the games, and I think what makes them work narratively at least, is the characters and their interactions and the tremendous amount of heart that the story is able to get going. There's a lot of games that try to do stuff like this. I mean, the Uncharted franchise was so successful that when they rebooted Tomb Raider, all they did was rip it off badly.
They tried to take a very, very goofy movie and then like make it super serious. Which was a trend there for a while because they did the same thing with RoboCop, where here's a goofy here's a goofy premise that everybody loves. Now let's try it if it was serious. And it was like, hey, I don't understand why this didn't work.
I would have thought. So they're all great games. I would encourage anyone out there. You are correct, Jesse. They are great. I would encourage you to finish them if you get the time. It's a tremendous gameplay experience. They're wonderful narratives. I don't have a bad thing to say about the games at all.
Okay.
So they're great.
So you, Alexis, now you said you hadn't played the games, but you had talked to people, and in your extensive research and talking to people in cons and whatnot is how you came to these games, yes?
More or less. I haven't really had time to sit down and play the games to the extent that Robert has, but I know very much of them. Got a lot of customers at the Comic-Cons. We see a lot of cosplayers dressing up as the crew. I've heard so many good things about these games, especially with the animation and the voice acting. This is a game that looks amazing, and there's actually kind of a running joke with gamers about the fight between Lara Croft and Nathan Drake, and who is truly the better explorer. So I always love hearing people's input on that, although Death Battle did do it, and they actually proved that if you use the games, Lara Croft is technically stronger than Nathan Drake.
I'm glad you mentioned it because as soon as you said that, I was just like, oh, I wonder if they've done a Death Battle. So
they have.
They're kind of running on empty over there a little bit. They've done pretty much everything at this point.
Yeah, their season finale was One Punch Man versus Popeye the Sailor.
Yeah, there's no contest there. Saitama wins.
Popeye is Toon Force.
Doesn't matter. You can't beat Saitama. That's the whole point of Saitama.
You can't beat Toon Force.
Okay. So
I was really
kind of conversations where I'm gonna now upload the clip of the one dude from Revenge of the Nerds just screaming nerds when stuff like this happens. So be prepared. You've now caused me to go find yet another clip. Please continue.
Son of a bitch. No, anyone who spends any time in the gamer world knows of the Uncharted series, knows how amazing it is, knows how well done it is, knows how popular it is, knows how fun it is. And yeah, doing an Uncharted game series was so freaking obvious. We knew it was going to happen.
All right. Yeah, just very briefly on the craft element of the games. Understand that Naughty Dog does all of their animation by hand.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean like pen and paper by hand, but they they draw it all.
Mhm.
It's not mocapped.
Okay.
There is some. Isn't there some mocap for them?
I'm not sure.
I think they do some, but all of the animation that they paste over it is drawn.
Yeah, they don't take shortcuts.
It's why some of their games take so long to come out, but it's why they're all so. I mean, Naughty Dog has done the Last of Us franchise, which was one truly spectacular game and one that
And now we're getting a TV series based off of that.
We'll just have to see how that goes.
You got Pedro Pascal. How bad can it be?
Don't open
that Pandora's box. This is 2022 Hollywood. It can be as bad as your wildest imagination.
It can be very bad.
All right. So Nathan and Sam Drake are caught by a security for trying to steal the first world map made after the Magellan expedition. Because this is Sam's third strike, the orphanage that houses both boys kick Sam out and force him to stay elsewhere away from Nate. Nate goes to their room and catches Sam sneaking out on his own, but he promises his little brother, "I'll be back." Sam leaves with a ring belonging to their ancestor, Sir Francis Drake, with the inscription, damn it.
Do it.
Nope. Greatness from small beginnings.
And now you've got to do the Latin. Do the Latin.
Sic parvis magna.
Close enough.
It's not that hard. It's not like we ask you to speak Italian.
15 years later, 5 years later, Nathan works as a bartender in New York City, which I know I said before we started, I don't want to do any interruptions. I want to just speed read through this, but I kept getting Cocktail in my head the whole time I'm watching that. I was like, oh, good. He's channeling Tom Cruise from Cocktail and pickpockets wealthy patrons. Victor Sullivan, a fortune hunter who worked with Sam tracking treasure hidden by the Magellan crew, explains to Nathan that Sam vanished after helping him steal Juan Sebastian Elcano's diary. Nathan, who has several postcards Sam sent him over the years, agrees to help Sully to find his brother. Sully and Nathan go to an auction and steal a golden cross linked to the Magellan crew. There, the pair encounter Santiago Moncada, the last descendant of the Moncada family, who funded the original expedition, and Jo Braddock, leader of the mercenaries hired by Moncada. Nathan is ambushed by Braddock's men, and the ensuing fight creates a distraction for Sully, disguised as an auction attendant, to steal the cross. The duo travel to Barcelona, where the treasure is supposedly hidden, and rendezvous with Sully's contact, Chloe Fraser, who has another cross to bear. Chloe steals the first cross from Nathan, but Nathan and Sully convince her to work with them after yet another parkour chase. Meanwhile, Moncada confronts his father, Armando, upon learning the family fortunes being donated. After Armando states his son is not worthy of inheriting it, Moncada orders Braddock to kill him, like you do. Nathan, Chloe, and Sully follow clues in Elcano's diary to Santa Maria del Pi, finding a secret crypt behind the altar. Nathan and Chloe enter, finding a trap door, but as they open it, the crypt floods with water. Dun, dun, dun. Sully barely manages to help them escape after subduing an ambush by Braddock. Using the two crosses to unlock a secret passage, Nathan and Chloe find a map that indicates the treasure is in the Philippines. Chloe betrays Nathan, dun dun dun, having originally been hired by Moncada, and takes the map. Who didn't see that coming? Sully reunites with Nathan and says that he and Sam recovered Elcano's diary. They were ambushed by Braddock. Sam was shot and Sully narrowly escaped. Moncada, Chloe, and Braddock's team depart in a cargo plane to find the treasure, but Braddock betrays and kills him. Nathan and Sully hide out on the plane. Nathan confronts Braddock while Sully parachutes out. Nathan is knocked down on the plane with Chloe, who attempts to escape with the map after Moncada's death, and the pair land in the Philippines, where they realize the map does not pinpoint the treasure. After surmising Sam may have left a clue in his postcards, Nathan concludes the treasure's location. Unsure over Chloe's loyalties, Nathan leaves her fake coordinates and finds the Magellan ships. Reuniting with Sully, Braddock follows them, forcing Nathan and Sully to hide as their crew airlifts the ships. In their escape, Sully commandeers one of the helicopters, causing Braddock to order the other helicopters to approach for a boarding action. Nathan defends himself from her mercenaries and shoots down the other helicopters with one of the ship's cannons. Braddock drops the ship's anchors while Nathan climbs to the helicopter. Sully throws a bag of collected treasure at Braddock, who is crushed to death when the ship breaks and falls. As Philippine naval units arrive, Nathan and Sully escape with a few pieces of pickpocketed treasure, while Chloe, who followed them by boat, is left empty-handed. Aw, poor dear, poor dear. All right, Alexis, kick us off here.
Oh no, you've got to talk about the stingers first of all.
I left before that happened.
Wikipedia actually didn't put the stingers on there. So, Robert,
shit.
as you are the only one who probably knew who they were talking about in that mid-credit scene, which went so stupidly esoteric, why don't you talk about them?
Well, first of all, we do get the hint that we do get to see that his brother is alive and stuck in a prison from which he will be liberated and then gets to help them find Libertalia and the treasure. No, wait, that's the fourth game. Sorry.
It's like, who didn't know Sam was alive?
Like that was so stupid. Like that's just the dumbest pseudo stinger. No, our closing stinger is meant to set up part of the. It actually is supposed to set up, in theory, the first action. Thank you, Alex. That's my brother.
Anyone who didn't play the game, such a surprise.
The stinger is supposed to set up essentially the beginning action sequence from the first game, which is Nathan and my brother, yes. Which is Nathan and Elena, a journalist that he hires to do research on this, following the coordinates that are engraved inside of Sir Francis Drake's ring to a location, and then they actually wind up looting a German U-boat that is in the jungles of, I think they're off the coast of Argentina, but don't quote me.
This was all an after-credit scene?
Mid-credits.
Okay.
Well, hang on. No. The mid-credit scene is supposed to set that up.
Oh, okay.
It's Nathan talking with one of the antagonists from the first game.
Okay.
Getting a map.
Who, if they do get a sequel and he's not played by Neil McDonough, I'm going to be very disappointed.
One would really think that would be slam dunk casting, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's like, I know enough about the game to know who that character was. I'm like, yeah, and you have McDonough on standby, right?
Yes, but Hollywood has gotten very French lately. Hollywood, everyone wants you to do this. Well, we're not gonna. We're gonna have a sandwich.
Oh, they screwed it up. How like life? I give them a perfect score. I might quote the Robin
have
Williams
a nap,
bit.
then fire the missiles.
No, that's one of my favorite Robin Williams bits. It's from a stand-up thing he did right after right around the time of the 2002 Winter Olympics, when there was that big scandal about the French judge giving a wrong score in the pairs figure skating.
So I did Eddie Izzard, you did Robin Williams. What were you doing?
Classic Flash cartoon.
Got it.
About the end of the world and all of us flying our nukes at each other.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that one. Australia's still like WTF, mate. Anyway, so that's what that's supposed to set up. He's getting a map, which was, again, allegedly to this German U-boat that's got some of the keys that they need for the, again, essentially the plot of the first game.
Yeah, it was El Dorado, right? That was the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was actually not a city, but it is a giant golden coffin that contains not gold, but a biological weapon.
Right.
So for those of you curious about how that game goes and how the next movie might.
Complete with Mr. Whiskers.
So what do you think?
No. That cat is the only thing original that this stupid movie brings to the table.
That's why I mentioned with Mr. Whiskers.
I don't mind
Sony
watching.
didn't bring a cat.
I swear to God on my children, I don't mind for the next hour if you two just talk to each other. I'll sit and watch and and blink my eyes at you. I really will, and you won't offend me none. But at least move on to the movie if you're going to do that. So Alexis, the third time, go ahead, tell us what you thought of the movie.
Okay. Again, didn't play the games, but I do know that this is not really close enough to the games to get the followers into it. Okay. They changed a lot. The casting is okay. Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg are great actors. Robert,
hang on, no. I anticipated where you were going. I apologize for that.
I think they're great. They're great actors. I think they have amazing chemistry together. And if you told me that they were cast in another movie, I'd be all for it. Hell, I even give credit to the fact that they do genuinely look like they're having a good time making this movie. So there, and I've always said on credit that when you have a movie with an actor who's having fun, there is a little bit more likability to it.
Sure.
I really think that we got that with this. Mark Wahlberg, for one of the few times, does actually look like he's enjoying himself. He doesn't look like he's got a pine cone up his ass. But
Speaking
as
of, did you get the trailer for his next big drama piece that's in front of this? Because I
Father
did.
Father
Stew.
Stew, yep.
Yeah, buddy.
This is like, what, his third movie with Mel Gibson as his father?
I don't know. I might watch that out of curiosity because I like Mel Gibson's work. He's a tremendous actor. Crazy.
I know it comes out the same weekend as something we're already doing, so it wasn't even
I
a
know.
consideration,
Like, I don't know.
but-
If I was gonna watch that, it was gonna just be like as my own, out of my own curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, that was not
Yeah.
gonna be reviewed here.
But anyway, but yeah, as anyone who's even seen clips of the games knows, they are way too young to play the roles of Nathan Drake and Sully. Nathan Drake, again, looks like a 20-year ago Nathan Fillion, which would still be early 30s. I know in the game he's supposed to be late 20s, but he does not look that young.
Mhm.
And Sully has always been with gray hair and a gray mustache and the big cigar. And I'm sitting there going, it's like, okay, I know Mark Wahlberg really wanted this role, but you couldn't at least gray him at the temples a bit? I would have given this movie a lot of credit if they had just given him a little gray hair. I think
Can I
it was like, yes,
posit a
please.
theory?
Mhm.
His ego wouldn't let him do it.
I don't even think it's his ego. I think that you're sitting around with a bunch of producers and studio executives, and you're kind of looking at dailies and stuff. And there's a conversation about how Tom Holland is the big sexy star right now, and Mark Wahlberg is the big sexy star. And we want a mass audience of men and women and children to come see this thing. So we can't make Mark Wahlberg look too much like a gross old man because we want women to swoon. And so they don't. And I think
Instead, they just spent half the film making him a bumbling idiot.
I don't think women care about that.
Tom Holland did look amazing while he was doing those push-ups.
See, this is my point. We were talking before the podcast started about the casting of these two, and I said this is the thing that Hollywood does all the time: is that one, they want the cast to age with the franchise if the franchise is game and makes money. Two, they want to cast people that are popular now. You know, they want to tap into what are the centerpieces of the culture in terms of actors. And I mean, between, you know, the Spider-Man movies and some other stuff that Tom Holland's done right now, he's one of the, you know, he's up there with the Chris's, all 72 of them that are popular at this time. And so I think, again, remember when they're making these movies, there's probably one person in the room who is in a corner and he's wearing broken glasses, and you know he hasn't slept in a week, and he's going, but what about the people who played the game? And like, shut up, you know, as the 8 or 9 other big burly cigar smoking men all talk about what sexy people can be put in this thing to sell tickets. Thus my theory on Mark Wahlberg and the not looking like the guy in the game.
Fair enough, but like, I'm sorry, I'm still going to speak for the gamers that they are
Sure.
way too young to play these roles.
Okay.
Again, they're great actors, but Tom Holland, he's got such a boyish charm that we just saw him in Spider-Man No Way Home. He
As a 17-year-old who looked age appropriate.
Yeah, I know he's in his 20s, but he
Like,
doesn't.
what is he, 25, 27?
Mark, do you still have Wikipedia open, or did you close that?
No, I got it.
Okay, you want to take care of that?
I believe he's 1,000 in elf years, but he's also 25.
Okay.
God,
Yeah,
he was
and he has
born.
a
He was born, and I was midway through college.
I gotta babysat him. But so my biggest problem with this film, besides really bad pacing, I'm sorry, there was just so many scenes I was like, wow, you really didn't know how to, you know, properly establish the mood of this shot, did you? When they find the gold underneath the false barrels, I was literally saying, that's it. It rushes so badly. This movie does have really good action adventure set pieces. I'll say that the scene with the flying pirate ship, Magellan ships, is really well done. Very fun, very enjoyable. But this movie is not strong enough with the fans that they're going to, be saying, yes, this gets us. And it is not strong enough on its own to demand its own franchise. Am I glad I saw it? Yeah. Did I have fun? Yeah. Do I want to buy it on DVD? No. Am I clamoring for a sequel? No. So I just don't think it's strong enough.
All right, Robert, I know you've got a lot to say and you're chomping at the bit, so don't let me stop you, sister.
All right, I'll try to be brief here. I'm not going to do too much comparison to the
No,
games.
you won't.
Yes, I will.
Don't lie to the people.
Look,
don't lie to us.
Look, you don't lie to the people, Mark. I can lie to the people.
Okay.
You have to be the face the people trust.
Professor, I've signed up for this lecture. Please start.
Have you now?
He's got lectures from both of us coming this week.
So I'm not going to do too many one-to-one comparisons to the game. I'm not going to go, but they did it differently in the game and blah, blah. Like, I don't think that's a fair comparison when you're adapting material. You're not promised a one-to-one, a shot-for-shot changeover from one medium to another. If you want that, go play the games. I encourage you to do so. They're better. But you also don't get a free pass to try and wholesale piggyback on an existing IP and fandom and then do your own thing and then wonder why doesn't anyone like what I did. So you can't really have it both ways there. So I'm not going to do a one-to-one here, but there might be a few references. Let's start with Holland and Wahlberg. Alexis is entirely correct. Unless you wanted to go a different kind of prequel than this one is, it's a mistake. Wahlberg as Sully was not a bit of casting I got behind as soon as it was announced. Didn't like it.
How in fractions? How much of that is your hatred of Mark Wahlberg, and how much of that is he's the wrong guy for this part?
Wonderfully, about in this case, 50-50.
All right.
Wasn't he was attached from this? Again, this movie's been in development hell for a while, but I think he was attached from the beginning, and he openly admitted that he stuck with it through all the changes. He was very passionate about getting to play Sully.
He was. I mean, when he was originally announced as being part of it, again, we're talking like 10 years ago at least. My fear was they were casting him as Drake.
Oh, God.
Which would have been such a horrible decision.
Even 10 years or younger, Mark Wahlberg would have been a terrible decision.
20 years ago, Mark Wahlberg would still have been a terrible decision. Like, he's not that guy. But when it came out, when they said Holland was in, like, oh, God, they're giving him Sully. I appreciate his enthusiasm for the project, and I think you're correct. He does come across as not being there at gunpoint, which is nice. Unfortunately, the writing falls down in addition to his casting being, I think, a little bit off, and his character is written as intermittently hyper-competent or a tired old man who just wants to get one last score and be done with this. And they never find the right balance of those two tones. And that's not all on Wahlberg. That's on the writing more than anything else. I don't think Mark Wahlberg has the right kind of charm for Sullivan. Sully is not a guy whose loyalty is ever in question. This is a giant misread of the entire IP that goes into the writing of this thing, where they spend most of it with our 3 pseudo leads. It's 2 leads and 1 vestigial appendix. Seriously, you could write Chloe Fraser out of this movie and lose nothing.
I don't know. They kept. I'm not gonna lie. The Wikipedia said she was the love interest, and we knew we had a lot of scenes with them together, and we have multiple scenes of Sully saying "you and your girlfriend." It's like, and you don't even have them flirt, let alone kiss or have sex or something. It's like you have a scene with them in a bedroom. He's got his shirt off, and again, Tom Holland has nicely put on the muscle. She's in a bathrobe, and I'm sitting there going, so you're not going to build up the sexual chemistry at all? And yeah, sorry, those 2 actors have no sexual chemistry.
None whatsoever.
So I think they're probably, they might have written one in there because who wouldn't want to have Tom Holland bang this broad and, and capture it on film. However, your PG-13 kids in the audience, they probably were like, If Marvel can get away with a sexless universe, why can't we?
Well,
they
they
made
got
$1
away
billion.
with the most bloodless throat cutting I've ever seen in a movie in my life.
Because in PG-13 movies, nobody has blood.
Sorry,
that
I get
hurt
that.
my soul when when they did that overhead shot.
You can have a bloodless throat cutting. You can do that, but yeah, that overhead shot where he just looks like someone took his mother's lipstick and dragged it across his neck.
Terrible.
Just like, look, I know you can't use blood for the rating, but you could have done something else.
Yeah, there's so many other ways they could have gone. Or he falls face down and that's it.
I don't want to get off track here, but the nerd tidal wave that's coming from the Batman being PG-13, because Batman's not going to rip someone's head off like the Predator and pull their spine out.
I mean, look, I'd rather...
Batman's never been rated R.
Look, I know that, you know that, but we live in a world where if Batman doesn't punch someone to death, people aren't going to be able to go to sleep at night.
Yeah, and those people are idiots. So... But
Warner Brothers will never allow a Batman movie that they can't market to a larger audience.
100%. It's kind of a shame, but yeah, that throat cut, man, that hurt my soul. Like, who thought? There's so much that goes into that I hate, but really, on just like from the dailies kind of thing, who thought that was a good shot? Like, who thought this was a good scene to put into our movie? Just terrible.
Just frame it so his neck and head are out of shot for the rest of the time. You know, I think that actually would have been a lot more harrowing because it allows your imagination to fill in the blanks of just how
don't show him. Pull the camera back or close up on and then have blood flow into the shot.
Can't have blood at all, Mark.
Nope. You can't show blood disconnected from a body. You can't show a puddle of blood.
You could have done other things. Not. He was holding a drink. Have the drink fall out of his hand. That's classic.
Look, there's a million ways they could have, and they chose like the student film version. I mean high school student film.
Yeah,
we're not even
again, mother's lipstick.
You know what they should have done? Then stabbed him in the back, and then he could have gone, "Aye!" just like that. Aye! And
you know what? I agree.
And then fall down. Then you don't have to worry about the blood anymore.
Yeah, sure.
That would spurt from your neck when slit.
Yeah, throat cutting's a messy way to go.
Yeah. Nice stab in the back does it.
Anyway.
Robert, what were your thoughts on the Nolan North cameo?
Oh, that hurt. That hurt because I watched him and went, why isn't it just you? why am I doing this when you're right there? All you're doing is reminding me of something better.
My problem with it was I saw it I caught a matinee on Monday, not a very full audience, but decent amount. I'd say maybe about 10 other people in there. I know who Nolan North is. I've seen his face plastered at enough convention meet and greets. He's like one of the most prolific video game voice actors currently on the market. So I know who he is. And I hate to say it, I'd actually forgotten he was the voice of Nathan Drake. But the minute I saw him, I immediately put two. It's like, oh, of course. And then he says when they talk about they fell out of the plane, that was also a really kick-ass action sequence. But then they say it's like, yeah, we fell out of the plane. He goes, oh, I did something like that once. I started laughing. And no one else in the theater was. I'm the only person who got the joke.
Yeah, for the record, in the third game, Nathan Drake falls out of the back of a cargo plane like that and lands in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. You know, I'm happy to see the guy get paid to do that. So, you know, good for him. Yes, Wahlberg, again, not great. I think they badly wrote the character, and his interactions with Drake are just... They missed the mark badly when it came to the writing. When it comes to Tom Holland, one, I'm with you, he looks too young. Here's the other problem. Well, there's one problem that is logistical outside the scope of the movie, then there's one within the movie. Within the movie, I'm not saying Tom Holland does not have charm. He's got the wrong kind of charm for Nathan Drake. The way Holland's performances kind of draw you in as far as his charm goes is he does the teenager in over his head gimmick. Mm-hmm. That's what he feels like. Mm-hmm. And his likability makes up for the fact that most people want to see teenagers get hit by cars. unless they're yours. In which case you want it to be a bus half the time, and the other half of the time you throw yourself in front of it willy-nilly. Neither here
I
nor
would
there.
have liked if the 3 teenagers in the movie theater had gotten hit by a car.
Stop wishing death on people.
Doesn't have to be
Both
death,
of,
Mark.
Both of you. My goodness. Or if you're going to wish death on people, do it right and join a cult. And I don't mean some of these cults on Twitter. I mean a good cult.
With the sacrifice.
Yes. And the
midnight...
ghosts and the whatnot. Not these weirdos chasing after Japanese women dressed as maids.
Yeah.
Not that cult.
But the point there is Drake's charm is supposed to be more, and I hate to use the reference, but it's supposed to be more Harrison Ford, more Indiana Jones. It's supposed to be, yeah, my brother.
A good memeing never hurt anyone.
It's true.
Why don't we just get your brother on the freaking show here? He's offering better
fine where he
commentary.
But Holland's charisma and his charm is all wrong for this role. You need someone who's smooth. You need someone who's a little bit sarcastic, but has a real deep kind of soulfulness under it. I'm not saying I'm not saying that Tom Holland's not a charming enough actor. He is. He plays Peter Parker quite well. He's done other stuff in that same vein perfectly admirably. I'm not even saying he can't do deeper acting performances. He's great in stuff like The Devil All the Time. The man can act.
And he was good. He was good in the action scenes. The scene where they're flying out of the plane and he's climbing up all the boxes and everything, trying to get back. I thought he was really good in that stunt work.
There's a degree of the physicality that he absolutely gets, and that's to his credit and to this coordinator and whoever's and the stuntmen and everything like that. That all works more or less.
I want to cast Tom Holland and Ryan Reynolds in Parkour the movie.
I would really rather not.
Stop with the lizard brain, Mark.
Hey, Robert, you and I keep thinking of things we can pitch to get on a streaming service because they'll make anything now. I think this is our ticket. Parkour the movie, just an hour and a half of Tom Holland and Ryan Reynolds doing parkour.
I think that might be too experimental for even streaming services, Mark.
We're going to workshop. It'll be fine. I'm going to put it on a Kickstarter.
Well, we'll need to come up with some kind of plot. Anyway, Holland's just a little bit miscast. This is not the kind of role that he's ever really going to be able to pull off accurately, and that's not on him as an actor. That's a misread from the studio trying to get someone, hey, who's the it kid? How about that Tom Holland fellow? He'll be good for a franchise. You mean in addition to the 3 others he's already a part of, you idiots?
I don't blame him for saying...
The guy who's publicly taking a break, and I don't blame him for that one bit. And as soon as he comes back, you want to know what's going to be first on his docket. It ain't Uncharted.
It's Spider-Man.
Not by a long shot. You're signing up to play second fiddle to a much bigger corporation for casting a guy who's already saying I'm taking a break. Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot for no reason other than a temporary boost in, well, maybe when there's other people better suited. You keep saying that,
but he just like 5 days ago said he was taking a break from acting. They cast him in Uncharted in like 1977. I mean, it was a long time ago. Remember, these things have all been held back for 2 and 3 years. Hey, you ramble a little bit more. I'm going to find the principal photography.
You know who I actually think would have been really, and maybe I got the age wrong here, but I think who would have been a really good Nathan Drake? Chris Pine.
Okay, principal photography began on March 16th, 2020, and then Holland finished shooting his scenes October 23rd of 2020. So yeah, they shot this whole, and then they did some reshoots in July of 2021. He was cast in, he had to have been cast in 2019, I guess, 2018.
I don't know. I remember it being even when you cast him, he's already signed up for like 8 Marvel movies.
Okay, that's a valid point. Okay, May 2017, Tom Holland was cast as young Nathan Drake. So your argument that he's miscast because of all the character traits is valid. He's not the right guy because he's already tied up in Marvel is probably a valid point. Your supposition that he's, don't hire the guy after he's already announced he's taking a break, you're about 4 years off.
No. My point about him taking a break is now we're just piling on. Like
They
that's
couldn't have possibly known.
okay, sure, but that's just more bad luck.
Okay, fair enough, but at least
And that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying they didn't hire the guy after he said I'm retired.
And for the record, it's abundantly clear that there is no start immediate sequel in his contract. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to take a break.
Yeah.
So, if Uncharted is getting a sequel, and I think it's pretty obvious it is because it's made enough money.
we're going to talk about that and the money, but I want to stop you there and just say this because I want to come back to this point. They have nothing prepared. There is nothing in development. They are looking towards the future. Development takes 2-3 years unless something is fast-tracked. Like I think Shang-Chi notoriously got fast-tracked and its development was about 20 minutes.
And the end product showed.
So my point is, you're probably not going to see another Uncharted movie any earlier than 2024 or 2025. It's got to be developed, it's got to be scripted, it's got to be produced, and then he has to agree to come back.
Yeah, there's a lot of that has to line up. So and I'm happy to admit some of this is just bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens, and it sucks, but I'm not going to pretend that it didn't happen and that it's not part of what's going on here. As far as the rest of this movie, I think you can cut the Chloe Fraser character out of this thing completely. The fact that this movie, the script ran out of things for her to do so obviously that her entire bit in the third act consists of...
She went to go join Captain Marvel.
Sure. Her entire bit in the third act consists of sitting around in a hotel room with Tom Holland.
While he does stuff.
And then getting misdirected to drive around in a boat.
Yes, and then she finds Captain Marvel off screen for a good 20 minutes to a half an hour.
Not to mention, as much as I liked Tati Gabrielle as Jo Braddock, loved her on The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, in what universe do you have this actress take over as the bad guy against Antonio fucking Banderas?
In the universe where men and women are built exactly the same, have the same exact sex organs, the same exact body chemistry, strength, endurance, everything. Not a damn bit of difference between men and women. None. Zero.
I was so looking forward to seeing... Okay, Banderas is not a character from the game. He's an original character, but I was so looking forward to seeing him play the villain. I love Antonio Banderas. He's such a good actor, and he plays evil so well.
I said this to Robert before we started. Hollywood is desperate to make Tati Gabrielle happen. Like they look at people with a certain presentation who they want to see America embrace, and Tati Gabrielle is one of those people. That's why they did that, because I'm sure there's a version of the script where that doesn't happen, and they were like, no. We want, once Tati Gabrielle had that part, they were like, no. We need to make her the villain of this thing, but we've already got Antonio Banderas. Well, kill him off, and then make her Darth Vader because she's amazing.
She's a really good actor, but you don't replace Antonio Banderas with Prudence from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
You do when you want to make Prudence a thing.
Ultimately, here's the... I will not understand. No one can make me understand. I'm not even necessarily taking Mark's word for that sequence of events. Like, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I would need more evidence. I will never understand the logic behind taking a charismatic, wonderfully slimy, in this version, one of the only characters who's actually somewhat written in terms of his backstory and his motivations and everything, played by this charismatic, smooth yet intimidating, just slimy enough, but good enough actor to let you see that there's other stuff going on behind the eyes and behind the scenes. Like, that's freaking perfect. And you decide to kill him off in favor of a plank of wood who delivers all of her line reading through her teeth right about like this.
So
I don't get it. It's painfully stupid. Whoever made that decision needs to be beaten with a fish.
To be clear, I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate in this particular case. It's not that I think these were good ideas. I can just see where they're coming from. I've also been paying attention to enough of the patterns now and listening to other reviewers bring this up. And I don't mean to be that guy. I'm not trying to be Nerdcrotic or the Critical Drinker or any of those people. But they do have a point. There is a pattern, and it's happening in all like the big mainstream franchises across the board, from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings to this to that to the other thing to He-Man, and that is there has to be an on-screen denuding of a prominent male character in favor of raising another female character who probably doesn't deserve to be in that spot, but we're going to say she does because we have an agenda here. They didn't do it to their credit. They didn't do it to either Tom Holland or Mark Wahlberg, but they figured they could sacrifice Antonio Banderas on the altar of wokeness. And that is the pattern right now. That is where we are in Hollywood. It is part of the fabric of our culture. It just is. And you can hate it.
It doesn't even make sense for her character to have done it. She's a mercenary leader. Mercenary, she should have, it was like, call me crazy, but I'm thinking that if it gets out that she and her team killed their client and then took the gold,
presumably they're rich enough they don't care anymore. But I mean, again, I am not making the argument these were sound decisions. I'm pointing out that this is where we are in the culture right now, and it's only been about the zillionth time it's happened in the last few years.
And I'm going to keep saying it's stupid every time it happens.
Okay. We will continue to do this dance, Robert Winfree. We will forever dance in the moonlight, you and I.
Fair enough, but it's such a stupid decision. You take the only character that's somewhat written. Like, they don't do a good job writing Nathan Drake. His characterization, what makes him tick and what gives him his heart and his connection with other people. They do a piss poor job of it. They don't give Sully much of a character behind that, well, can I trust him or can I not? And can Mark Wahlberg's charisma carry me to like the guy even though I can't trust him? The answer is not really. And you then take the only guy that you do a little bit of character work with, and you kill him off again in favor of a goon. And that's all the character of Jo Braddock is. She's a stupid, faceless goon.
Robert, can I talk to you for a minute? I want to talk to you. May I come and sit down and talk with you? Will you take my hand and let me talk to you?
I'm not going to touch you.
I'm sorry. Should I turn my camera off now?
You stay if you want to. It's going to get weird. No. So you have a better memory for this than I do, and you're a much more stringent nostalgia cop than I could ever be. Am I remembering wrong that the Indiana Jones movies, or at least 2 out of 4 of them, were actually about something? The presentation was treasure hunting, but there was a subtext that was gritty and something that you could really buy into and relate. And even though what people remember about Indiana Jones is running away from a boulder and the whip and the shooting the swordsman and all of that, whether you realize it or not, what your brain does, as Mr. Plinkett would say, is that there's stuff going on with these characters and their relationships that drew you in and took you along for the ride. And that's what makes Indiana Jones and 2 out of 4 movies stand the test of time. Or am I not remembering that right?
You're remembering correctly. Let me go briefly through this.
Mm-hmm.
The first 3 all have important subtext.
Mm-hmm.
People like to dump on Temple of Doom because it's so different from the other 2, and it's the weakest of the original trilogy, but I defy you all to go back and rewatch it and tell me it's bad.
Oh, I just make fun of it because of Cape Capshaw.
That's fair.
Who doesn't?
I mean, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Temple of Doom, but I'm not going to lie that it does have some really amazing pieces, and I cannot get over how awesome the minecart chase scene is in that movie.
The thing I'm drawing attention to, because we all love the video game aspects of Indiana Jones, but I want to talk about subtext, and I'm going somewhere with this, so go ahead.
Okay, so the subtext, the relevant subtext for the 3 trilogy movies, and we don't talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No.
Raiders... Fair enough.
Sorry, it's like, God damn it, Robert, you walked right into that.
Okay, look, I will find another way to say that, and he will never be able to do that again. I have a terrible habit of ruining people's fun like this, and I make no apologies for it.
That's your assignment for our next review, man. We have got to make sure he doesn't do that joke ever again.
No.
It's okay. I guarantee I will.
Get on with it.
That. Raiders of the Lost Ark
anymore.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is about Indiana Jones and bits of his regret throughout his life and kind of coming to terms with some of the decisions that he's made in the past and finding a little bit more of what he wants the future to be. He is, again, he's a treasure hunter, but he's kind of a little bit down on his luck. He's got these people in his past who he feels badly about how things worked out, Marion in particular. And it's about him kind of reconnecting with that and moving on from his past. Temple of Doom, which chronologically takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark, is about Indiana Jones overcoming his darker self. We find him there, and he is not he's allegedly a professor, but he's not nearly as altruistic. He's not nearly as enlightened, for want of a better expression. He is very greedy. He is very self-centered. And while he's still, it's not that he doesn't care about the people around him. It's one of the things that makes him a more grounded character. What he's after in that movie is explicitly fortune and glory. And by the end of it, he has learned that there are things more important than the material wealth immediately at hand. For The Last Crusade, which is my personal favorite of the trilogy, and I maintain the best written.
Agreed.
If we're just talking about writing, Raiders is the most fun to watch, but give me The Last Crusade any day. Last Crusade is about Spielberg, I think, when he describes that movie, the Grail is secondary. The search is for the relationship between Indiana Jones and his father.
Yep.
The Grail just happens to be what they're doing together, but the search for the Grail is the search for his father and what that means to him.
Okay. So the reason why I went down this road is because
this movie has none.
Yes, this movie has no subtext, but it's also a really classic example of another pattern in Hollywood that I've noticed, which is people are our age or a little older, a little younger, but probably within a 20-year period, a 20-year frame of all three of us. I am 8 years older, I think, than both of you. So, it's a pretty wide area, but go with me on this. People who have all seen the Indiana Jones movies and got the wrong message because they think it's about running away from a boulder and about finding treasure and cracking whips and shooting swordsmen. They don't see the subtext. And I know that because most people don't, your brain does, but most people don't consciously see the subtext of the Indiana Jones movies. They just think it's about sexy Harrison Ford cracking a whip. And so when they go to they go to Hollywood and they go to write a movie and they say, let's do Indiana Jones, but it's Uncharted. Okay, well, what do I remember from Indiana Jones? Stunts. And they don't know what the movies are about. And so this Uncharted movie is a poor translation of a misunderstood Indiana Jones movie. And that's my big problem with it. Because again, devoid of all the knowledge of the games, I watch this thing and go, okay, this is somebody's poor cover of a song they don't understand, but sounds nice in their ears.
I think they were trying to have the subtext about Nathan Drake's relationship to his brother and his feelings of abandonment and the fact that his lifelong dream to discover that treasure with his brother, it's that he had to learn that he could to stand on his own. But I'm not saying that was well done.
No, because you're not wrong, except that there's subtext and then there's smack you in the face with a frying pan text. Okay, this movie had all the subtext of porn. Robert, you were about to say something?
I was just going to move on to some of my next issues with the movie. But no, you're entitled, good subtext doesn't need a character standing looking at the screen going, but I wanted to be right here with my brother all these years. Or him miming, steering the pirate ship and going, but I've been waiting my whole life to do this. There's ways to do that. But if he's doing the thing where he's steering the ship and speaking like a pirate, I don't need Mark Wahlberg. I don't need Mark Wahlberg to then go, "Hey, Jack Sparrow, knock it off," and then him to go, "But don't you understand? My whole life I've dreamed of this moment, pretending to drive a flying pirate ship as it's carried by a helicopter, and we fight for our lives."
I'm sorry. I actually like that scene. I thought that scene I like that scene because I didn't think it was the subtext. I thought it was just more, oh, come on, I'm sitting on a pirate ship. You don't think I'm going to have some fun with this?
My gauge for how well things are written is if I turn to my 8 and my 11-year-old and they're like, this is awesome. I understood everything that was happening. Your movie was written too stupid. If they look at me and they go, I don't know what the hell I watched for 2 hours, but what I saw looked awesome. Dude. Then I go, okay, you wrote this for people with functioning brain cells. You wrote this for adults. And if children happen to like it, bully for them. This is the former, not the latter. And that's my biggest problem with Uncharted, because as a purely visual spectacle, it's fine. You know,
Mm.
Tom Holland does a lot of fun parkour stuff. As you know, chasing after Chloe Fraser in the one scene, and you know, I didn't know that was part of the game, but him, you know, falling out of the plane and jumping on the boxes and whatnot was all fun video game stuff that I couldn't play.
Him falling out of the plane's a pretty good sequence. The chase through Barcelona feels like it's there to have a chase. Like there's.
I mean, it all, you know. I'm going to say something positive in its favor. At least the fights between the men and the women were 50-50 booking. It wasn't the men always getting their ass kicked, and obviously you can't kick a woman's ass because really, how could you?
No, I was pleasantly surprised by the fight between Jo and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Where she
in the pizza place,
where she has to use bits of technique to try and overcome the obvious physical disparity.
Yeah, I wanted to give the movie at least some credit. They handled the fight scenes with some competency.
I will agree with that fight scene, and you know, him slamming her through the glass that he'd already broken was kind of a nice touch.
Tom Holland, you know, fighting with the Scottish guy that you saw, he's part of that in the trailer, and then him jumping into the chandelier and all that stuff. I mean, look, dude, I mean, is this like, you know, Chris Nolan Tenet action sequences? No, but I think for your general audience, these were suffice. You know, these were perfectly serviceable is the word I was looking for.
The final action set piece again with the flying ships, which, you know what? There's only one thing about this that I'm going to say that doesn't work that way. Now, none of it works that way. Absolutely none of it.
Sure.
I'll go with your ships. I'll go with your helicopters having enough power to airlift a Spanish
made of wood, a giant wooden pirate ship,
100-year-old wooden sailing ship that was in a tropical climate.
Yeah,
well, that's fine. I'll give you that thing didn't rot to pieces. That's stupid, but I'll go with you. Only one thing that I'm really going to point out to you: gunpowder flattens over time. 500-year-old gunpowder will not light. Hell, the limit on gunpowder is so much less than that.
Even if it hadn't,
much less.
He would have gone deaf from being that close to that cannon explosion.
Yeah, he was right there. Not to mention trying to aim it. Like there's
also, he'd have broken a bone when it rolled over him.
That too.
It would have rolled back. I mean, not to mention the fact that miraculously that cannon maintained its structural integrity when, again, we're talking about a 500 to 600-year-old piece of metal left in a very damp environment. Again, it's in the tropics in the Philippines. You know what happens to metal when you leave it out there untreated like that? You ever seen a 600-year-old cannon? They're in museums. You look at one of those things and tell me it's safe to fire.
Anything else? Because I want to conclude my point when we move on to the money, since we're almost at an hour.
There's bunches of the action in this movie that I hated the presentation because it's cut to hell. It's everything is cut. It's punch cut there, and you don't really have a chance to let any of it breathe, and it's annoying and not a pleasant viewing experience. Again, some of it's okay, some of it's not. Ultimately, this movie, it fails on a writing level. It's badly paced. It ping-pongs between action that is occasionally passable and occasionally pointless, and exposition dumps that a talented writer could have integrated into other sequences rather than having to have two characters stand around and dump exposition all over the audience. It pointlessly kills off the only interesting character in favor of a stock goon.
I want to it pointedly kills off a interesting character so that we can promote Trinity.
Sure. I'm not going to complain about the travel log. That's more or less that's partially accurate to the games, but you managed to take what should have been a slam dunk adaptation of material that is geared towards this kind of cinematic adaptation with characters that are interesting, recognizable, and engaging, and should have been your grand, genuine successor to one of the most enduring action-adventure legacies in not just film, but in all of entertainment media, and you turned it into a cheap, forgettable, disposable bit of popcorn nothing.
Yeah, you actually
Draw freaking
you actually
Whoa.
stole my line there, because that's kind of how I wanted to conclude this. So I'll just rephrase it and then we'll move on. As a film, this is poorly made. There's too much wrong with it. It does not in any way elevate the medium. This is not a well-made film. As a product designed to sell tickets to as many people as possible and be disposable, forgettable, and enjoyable for at least a few minutes, it works just fine. There's a level of mass-produced competency that goes into a feature like this. And I'm recognizing that more and more as we bifurcate our viewing experience on Damn You Hollywood. Last week we did the Steven Soderbergh movie, and it had its issues too, but we discussed it as a film. And as a film, it was imperfect, but it was still a film. I would not have called Kimmy a product, and certainly Big Bug wasn't a product. This was a product. This was, but to their credit, I think everyone went into this knowing it was a product. It was always meant to be a product. No one went into this with the predisposition that they were making art here. They were absolutely making a widget.
And I've had this discussion before. I'm going to reiterate it here at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't object to the existence of non-high art film. I never have. I never will. There's a lot of high art film I can't stand for a variety of reasons. I just miss the days when this type of movie would have been treated with care. When people would have actually cared about what they were making and tried to put more into it other than...
Well, that's why I made the Indiana Jones comparison, because when Spielberg and Lucas were doing Indiana Jones, they were absolutely making a mass appeal event picture that harkened back to the days of yore, where they saw treasure hunting adventurers going into the jungle. But they treated it with care and made a film. That... either by evolution, devolution, or laziness,
I think
or
it's a
time constraints. Is not happening now.
I genuinely think it's a lack of talent, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
what
a
else
lot.
This guy directed, actually, I didn't recognize the name of the director.
Wrap up, Robert, and I'll look real quick.
I got it.
Just to the point, I genuinely think it's a lack of talent by a lot of people, and I think it's a lot of studio executives who don't care.
Hey, Robert, he directed Venom.
Both Zombieland movies.
Yep. Not a lot here. Did Robert just walk off into the wilderness to live deliberately?
No,
Yes, he did.
I was waiting to see if you had anything else to add before I...
Zombieland, 30 Minutes or Less, Gangster Squad, Venom, Zombieland Double Tap, and now Uncharted. And he's executive produced a bunch more of these, including Let There Be Carnage.
Okay, this is not his style of film.
He's done a lot more TV shows, and he's actually done a lot of like live shows. Like he directed several episodes of Jimmy Kimmel Live, Funny or Die, Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna take a guess about how he got this job.
Hang on, this is what you need to know before you say another word. He in his Wikipedia page is an entire list of big-time commercials he's directed. Lots of them for things like McDonald's, Burger King, ESPN, Levi's, and KFC.
Okay, here's what happened. I'm going to guess at this, and I'm probably going to be right. This thing has been in production hell for so long, they've cycled through at least 3 other directors. They got to the point when, well, we've got Tom Holland, we've got Mark Wahlberg, we've got a movie, and someone went, wait, we don't have a director. And they went down to the lot and they said, who wants to direct Uncharted? And this guy was walking out of his latest commercial shoot and said, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll give it a stab.
I don't even think he said, yeah, sure, or it was a question. I think they saw the guy walking out of a KFC shoot and said, you, put the fucking bucket of chicken down. Let's go. And he went, what? There's Tom Holland in some boxes. Go.
He is not adept at this kind of film, and it's very painfully obvious. He has a partial screenwriting credit for this, which makes it even worse. This is a badly written movie. It's not very well put together. It's cheap, it's disposable, it's forgettable. It's a giant pile of nothing from an IP that should have been and could easily have been so much better.
All right. And with that said, here come. I'm doing this all out of order. Hey, actually, before we go, Alexis, you've been patient waiting for Robert and I to finish up for the last 20 minutes or so. What did you think of the music?
Wasn't half bad, although admittedly, I think it could have used a little bit more epicness. Maybe I'm a little spoiled rotten, but when I think of action adventure music, I actually go back to something like the Pirates of the Caribbean music or Lord of the Rings. I feel that some of the scenes, especially with them flying around with the Magellan ships, again, I will say that that was a well done action scene, but the music could have used a little bit more of an oomph.
More John Williams and Hans Zimmer, less Dr. Dre.
So the guy that did the music for this, the score, has done, and I'm only going to read a few of these, but he's done a handful. He did the Eternals. He did a bunch of television. Hey, Robert, he did Reese Witherspoon turns into romaine lettuce.
How is this guy still getting work?
He did Warcraft.
Oh, God.
He did Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim actually had a good soundtrack.
He did.
Click on the hang on. Click on the Pacific Rim one. Who held his hand through that? I must know.
This is all music composed by Ramin Djawadi.
Wait, which Pacific Rim?
First one?
Pacific Rim, dude.
Not Uprising?
Pacific Rim.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna look up
who is right twice a day.
I'm gonna look up who helped him with that. Hang on.
Okay, well, while you do that, if you're interested in this man's work, his Iron Man soundtrack, Clash of the Titans, Medal of Honor,
no one else. Wow.
I'm
just going to assume that Guillermo del Toro helped him with that.
Any one of the Game of Thrones soundtracks. Alexis Hejna, the Screaming Boy podcast. Do you know where you can find these soundtracks?
I haven't had enough caffeine to be exuberant, so just tell me.
Perfect.
You can find them on Amazon Music.
Yes, absolutely. Robert Winfree of the Screaming Boy podcast.
Yeah, that gag's running old, man. It only works on Ronnie. I keep telling you that.
I was doing that to my wife the other day. I kept calling her Melissa Radulich of the Screaming Boy podcast, and he was listening, and he was like, dude, I'm right here. And I'm like, I know. We are giving away a free 30 days trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service. Over 70 million songs, including the ones just talked about, including the music from this movie and any other thing you might possibly want to listen to, including the new Amorphous album, which we'll be reviewing tomorrow on the Metal Hammer of Doom. So click the link at getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network. Again, it's getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network for your free 30-day trial of Amazon Music Unlimited. And with that, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All righty.
Robert, have you figured out yet what episode that's from?
No, I need to put some effort into that. You know what I need to do? I just need to ask Ben. I'm sure he'd know.
Is he you know what, you're right. He's got even a more encyclopedic knowledge of The Simpsons than you do.
So the range on the budget is 90 million to 120 million. We're just going to go ahead and say
I'm guessing higher. Like, yeah. There's no way with this thing's development hell time that it's not high end of that, if not higher.
Yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and just call it even 120. At the time of this recording, which is Tuesday night after it came out on a 4-day holiday weekend, it made $139.3 million. It was obviously the number one movie of the weekend. Dog, which I also saw and was a perfectly lovely meditation on PTSD and the second chances the world
you
can
can't call anything with Channing Tatum lovely, Mark.
Boy, for the love of Pete. Anyway, my son insisted we see this movie because he loves dogs, and he didn't love it nearly as much as I did. And then my daughter fell asleep.
That's because it's not about the dog, Mark. You don't understand.
I do understand, and that was the problem.
He thought it was about the dog, and it's not about the dog. It's about Channing Tatum doing pratfalls.
Well, that one came in at number 2, and I believe is doing well if Wikipedia is telling me the truth. Spider-Man jumped up a place. It was number 4 last weekend. It's number 3 this past weekend. Death on the Nile which we're not going to review because we couldn't make that happen. But hey, guess what's going on with Death on the Nile there, Robert Winfree?
Just hit the button.
I said, what happened to all my buttons? Where did they go? There
The
it is.
joke's ruined.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Alexis? The joke's what?
Ruined.
I didn't catch that. One more time.
I hate you so much.
I know. Yeah, Death on the Nile is bombing hard, dude. Woo! That dropped from 1 to 4 and lost 50% in its second weekend. Yet another in the red movie for Disney via 20th Century Fox.
I'm just gonna say it again, man. Whoever decided that an actor like Kenneth Branagh had to act opposite. I'm blanking on her name.
Russell Brand, Gal
No.
Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. Having that great Shakespearean, dramatic over-actor kind of role that Kenneth Branagh does, and I say over-actor as a compliment in this case, against Gal Gadot, whose range is blank,
And
slightly confused, and smiling.
You do know he directed it.
I do. I mean, I assume he had no control over casting, is my point there.
So yeah, Death on the Nile is not doing well and will be on Hulu presumably next week. Jackass Forever fell from 2 to 5. Marry Me, which is day and date on Peacock, fell from 3 to 6. Sing 2, which even though it's PVOD and I think headed to Peacock momentarily, jumped up from 6 to 7. Scream fell from 7 to 8. The Cursed, a new horror movie out from LD Entertainment, debuted at number 9. Blacklight fell from 5 to 10. Moonfall. Hey, did you hear Roland Emmerich doesn't want to make conspiracy theory movies anymore, Robert?
No, I didn't hear that, but good for him.
Yeah, that was all over Twitter the other day. That fell from 8 to 11. Licorice Pizza jumped from 9 to 12. Fell from 9 to 12. The Worst Person in the World gained 91.5% and jumped from 14 to 13.
Darn
and
right.
Kanto got re-released back in theaters again, so it had a monumental leap at 226.5%.
You know what? Hang on. Here's my thought process on Encanto.
Mm-hmm.
Movie theaters are so desperate to sell tickets.
Mm-hmm.
They re-released Encanto, and the gag here is it's 90 minutes where you get to drop your kids off and you don't have to watch Encanto anymore.
So that jumped up from 22 to 14. West Side Story maintained at 15 and is currently available on Disney Plus. Drive My Car, the one of the Best Picture nominees out of Korea, jumped from 18 to 16. Belfast, also the leading candidate to win Best Picture of the year, and a perfectly lovely picture, dropped from 13 to 17. Parallel Mothers, another Best Picture nominee. No, not Best Picture, but Penelope Cruz is nominated, I think, for Best Actress. Jumped from 20 to 18. Redeeming Love, which nobody saw and nobody continues to see.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, nobody has. Dropped from 12 to 19. And The King's Man, which is currently on Hulu, dropped from 11 to 20.
Currently on Hulu and also on HBO Max. There's actually a lot of movies that are on both those streaming services.
Yeah, Nightmare Alley.
I don't know why.
Too. Yeah, I don't know what contracts they worked out to make that happen. But other debuts this week were Too Cool to Kill, which debuted at number 22, Strawberry Mansion at 26, Ted K at 31, and The Automat at 32, and finally A Banquet at number 40. Where we are worldwide currently. For 2022, Watergate Bridge. I don't know what that is. It's currently at 428.
Click on it. Let's find out.
It's got to be foreign because there's zero domestic here.
Yeah, click on it. I want to find out.
Australia.
Yeah.
No, it's the sequel to the China.
Oh, there it is. It all makes sense now. Robert, it's the Philly Flash.
Indeed.
Indeed. So now we understand. Too Cool to Kill, So what is this thing that's making? Yes, another Chinese Chinaman movie. Yeah. All right. So, as per usual, the Chinese making movies and don't want to let the Americans in. They're making all the money. But Uncharted is currently worldwide at 139 million, with Scream just under it at 134, and then everything is less than 100 million. We have Death on the Nile, Jackass, Marry Me, Moonfall, The 355, which is hanging by a thread, and Dog.
Here's my concern about Uncharted, believe it or not. It's sitting just under 140 million right now.
Yeah.
It needs to essentially double what it currently has to really be profitable. I mean, we're talking about a budget of, say, 120 million. So you need to get to 240, give or take. And and given the history of this film and this development process, you probably need more than that. You probably need around the 300 to 400 million dollar mark to really feel good about it. I'm not sure it gets there.
I think it'll be fine. It's got a whole other weekend before it has one other weekend left before it's not going to matter anymore, and we'll get to that in a second. But this weekend coming up is nothing. There's one wide release. It's Studio 666. It's a comedy horror movie starring the Foo Fighters. I mean, eventually Sean Comer and I are going to review it as part of a triple feature, but we're waiting until it goes PVOD, which could be any day now. It's open road. So I can't imagine people are rushing to the theater, and I don't want to rehash the same shit we say every week. So just go with me on this.
Yeah.
No one's running to the theater to see Studio 666. Just like myself and Sean Comer, they'll wait till it goes PVOD if they watch it at all. So who cares? The rest of it's limited releases. Cyrano, which is getting rave reviews, but A is in limited release, B is a musical, and C, not an event picture. I don't care what you say.
Actually, couldn't help but laugh. They launched a new ad campaign about how it's an Oscar nomination. It's an Oscar nomination for the costumes. Right. And they actually say it's like the Oscar-nominated film, and they just say for Best Original Costume. Like, wow, that's it.
So, and then the following week after that is the Batman. Nothing else matters. And the Batman is tracking to make $1 billion, just as Spider-Man did.
You and I are. I'm still debating whether I want to take that bet with you or not.
Our gentleman's bet. I don't see why you wouldn't. But
again, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
So here, let's look at the trajectory of the Batman. Yeah, because again, after this weekend passes, whatever Uncharted is made is about all it's going to make. For the most part,
more or less. Then
the Batman comes out March 4th. It has the second weekend that it's out all to itself. There's nothing. There's 2 limited release movies. There might as well be no release movies at all. Then you have March 18th, and here, as I'm looking through this, the wide releases are The Unbreakable Boy, which no one will go see. You have Uma, which is some sort of horror movie that doesn't seem to have a poster, from Stage 6 Films. There's X, which is a movie that, again, stop me if you think you've heard this before. Sean Comer and I are going to wait till it goes PVOD and review as part of a triple feature focusing on movies that are porn adjacent. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but X is about a porn shoot that turns into a horror movie.
I'm well aware of how gross you are, Mark.
You're welcome. So, and while I'm sure people will watch it when they're able to watch it at home, just like Lamb, I can't imagine people are rushing to the theater to see the horror porn. And then that's
I hate to say it, I saw the trailer for The Outfit, and I thought that actually looked quite intriguing.
Limited release, focus feature. I'm sure it's going to be just Jim Dandy, but again, people will still be going to see the Batman, and I'm not going to be going to see The Outfit. Moving on to March 25th. There's Everything, Everywhere, and All at Once, and not Sean Comer, but instead Robert Winfree and I will be reviewing that when it goes PVOD, because it too is only going limited. The only other wide release movie from March 25th is The Lost City, featuring Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, which is fun in a Romancing the Stone kind of way, but again, maybe some people go to see.
Don't compare that crap.
I mean, they're genre adjacent. I'm not saying they are exact copies of one another.
I'm looking forward to seeing Daniel Radcliffe as a villain.
I'll probably end up taking my family to go see it. I don't know if we'll see it that weekend, but I think some people will go see it. I think it'll do okay, and if the budget's low enough, it'll probably make money.
Yeah, now that having seen the entire release schedule currently for March.
Do you see what I'm trying to tell you?
I do. Like let me put it this way. If there was anything else that month, I would probably be okay saying I'm not sold on it making $1 billion.
Right. The next big competitor the Batman has is a month later, and it's Morbius.
Let me put it like this. I'm not entirely convinced Morbius will beat it.
Yeah.
The week it comes out, the Batman might still be going strong and beat Morbius because no one wants to see that crap.
No, you know what's going to win the weekend you know what's going to finally unseat Batman in the number 1 spot? Because I think Batman has a Spider-Man-esque run all the way, and I agree with you. I think it'll beat Morbius too. But you know what's going to finally unseat it?
Sonic the Hedgehog too.
Oh yeah, I don't know if Sonic the Hedgehog gets to $1 billion, but I think it's going to be one of the more successful movies of this year.
Here, look, you want to know what's going to be the best part about that weekend? And I absolutely mean this. Watching a stupid Michael Bay movie get trounced by the Blue Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna review it with Ronnie. But yeah, Ambulance is gonna get killed by Sonic.
Who here's reviewing Sonic?
Robert and I don't think anyone else has called it just yet.
Hang on. Sure. You want it?
Yes, I want it. I absolutely love the first movie. It was great.
Okay. Remind me when we're done here, and I'll put you on the schedule.
I'm very much looking forward to Idris Elba as Knuckles, and then I'm looking forward to the trilogy film, which is Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah, nobody else right now. Nobody else right now.
Following the game schedule, the game releases. It's kind of great.
All right, so Sonic wins the weekend of the 8th, and then the Batman now has to contend with both Sonic, and in April 15th, it has to contend with Fantastic Beasts 3. So that'll be the end of the Batman's run.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. I gotta say something. I am dying to see how people react when Fantastic Beasts come out, because there is still a call to boycott that movie over the Johnny Depp.
I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. I'm not really following the details of that or know how much that means to people, but I can't imagine there are more people on planet Earth that care deeply about what's going on behind the scenes of that movie.
There's also
versus the amount of people that just want to go see another Harry Potter movie.
Well, there's also the fact that the Harry Potter fandom has taken such a humongous dive ever since J.K. Rowling decided, you know what, maybe I should air what I actually think about this on Twitter.
I have thoughts about the LGBTQ community. We would like to hear them. Is about what happened?
You're not wrong.
I'm not going to touch that one.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I just know that there's a lot of fans who have sworn off ever touching a Harry Potter book ever again. Well, I got people when I originally was going to Orlando, I said I might do a week in Disney World, a week at the Wizarding World. I got people actually coming after me saying, like, you cannot go to the Wizarding World. Every ticket you buy to the Wizarding World goes into J.K. Rowling's pocket.
I know you think I'm an asshole. People to get
this. Did you tell those people to go walk off a bridge?
Let me be your asshole, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Tell those people to get fucking bent. And you tell them that Mark Radulich told you to tell them that. I'm at Mark Radulich on Twitter. Jesus Christ, people, get a life.
Those people are just...
Hang on, I take that back. You have to sell them jewelry. But just, but
actually, that's the other thing. Warner Brothers actually took my Harry Potter stuff down. But for at least a year prior, I was not selling a thing Harry Potter related.
Look, those people are vaguely pathetic.
There's no vaguely about it.
And many of them go beyond vaguely.
If you don't like the Harry Potter stuff because of JK, hang on. No, wait. If you don't like the Harry Potter stuff because of what JK Rowling said, that's on you. And I really don't have a beef with you. If you're sitting there yelling at Alexis Hejna, who simply said, I want to go to a theme park, go fuck yourself. And not just because it's Alexis. I would say that to anybody. Don't harass people for what they like. You don't like something, you go protest by yourself. Go ahead, Robert.
Two things. One, I completely agree with that. I mean, look, people, you bunch of ingrates. Some of us are capable of separating art from artist in ways that you apparently are not. I don't need to agree with everything that is said by every author or every actor or every director in order to decide whether or not I like their material. I agree with Stephen King on very little in the real world. Very little.
And even you're not that weird as he is.
And he is still probably my favorite author. I still love his books because his books are not him. I don't care that he makes money off me. He made a product I like. I'm willing to buy it.
Because talent and lunacy are two completely different things.
Now, here's
My
the other
big-
question. Does that mean you're going to go see the remake of Firestarter?
I
Yeah,
think
it's
we're
on the schedule to
reviewing
review.
it. If I had a bold prediction for April, my prediction might be that Secrets of Dumbledore bombs.
Maybe. Look,
I honestly think it's going to bomb. We've gotten very little promotional material from it so far.
That's
They're
kind
not
of the-
pushing it.
Yeah, we're a couple of months out and we have not seen a trailer.
all right. So
Like,
I mean,
that's-
We have seen a trailer.
We have?
I think one of two
yeah.
things is going to happen. Back to the central topic, and that is, at what point does Batman get derailed? Going back a step, just so we're all on the same page. It gets defeated by Sonic, and that's the only thing that defeats it up to that point. It beats Morbius. And that's the only competition it has.
Let me say that Morbius might. I'm going to stress might, but my inclination as I sit here.
I am basing my prediction on exactly what happened with Spider-Man. I am treating the Batman as Spider-Man at this point.
I get your prediction model, and I'm not. I understand where you're coming from, so allow me to just say, in the interest of maybe, at that point, we're what, 4 weeks?
From the Batman to Sonic?
To Sonic, no, to Morbius.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so we're 4 weeks. Again, my hunch, still the Batman. My hunch. Wouldn't be shocked if Morbius does it. Not going to shock me.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the predictive models around the Batman, and I'm certainly not wishing for it to fail. Not at all. But I'm going to stress the following. Predictive models are just that. They're estimations. The Batman might have a great week, and then nothing after. Now, I don't expect that, but we'd be stupid to sit here and go, it's going to be Spider-Man all over again. We have no way of actually knowing that. Spider-Man was easy to predict, and even with the predictions, it vastly overperformed.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I said I was going to do $1 billion. I didn't think it was going to do the gross national product of Germany.
You didn't think it was going to do
last time you made that joke, it was Lithuania.
It depends on if I wanted to say a lot or a little. All right. So yeah, look, I mean, I'm 50-50 with you guys on Fantastic Beasts. I think it might win the weekend because I have more faith in people not giving a shit about any of the stuff we're talking about. But I could be wrong.
I think here's my thing. I think you're going to run into a combination of the idiots, along with just kind of franchise fatigue around that. Let's not forget, Crimes of Grindelwald. I'm not going to say it bombed. But one, it did somewhat underperform, and two, nobody liked it.
Yeah.
No.
I fell asleep multiple times through that one.
I had to rewatch it with subtitles just to understand half of what they were saying.
I mean,
and then
it's not a good movie. I mean, I'll say this, believe it or not, I think at this point, Mads Mikkelsen is an upgrade from Johnny Depp. I just think the story they're telling is so piss poor, no one cares.
All right, so finishing this off, and then you have the 3 wide releases that anyone would care about will be The Northman, which we're going to review with Gavin Napier. The Bad Guys.
Was there a trailer for that in front of this for you guys too? Yes. As soon as that trailer got done, I heard a family sitting behind me. There were not a lot of people in the theater when I saw this, but a family sitting behind me went, "Who thought that was appropriate to put in front of a kids movie?" And
they're not wrong. I'm looking. When Gavin pitched The Northman, I was like, "Anything you say, Master." And I saw the trailer, and I'm like, "All right, I'm up for this." And I'm watching that. I'm watching the trailer with my kids, and I'm like, "Oof, this was not well put together."
Oh, but the unbearable weight of massive talent. Oh,
I would say if Jason Teasley hasn't already called dibs on that yet, I'll be shocked.
On what?
The Nicolas Cage movie.
We're not reviewing it, so there's nothing to call dibs on unless he goes and does it himself. No, we're doing The Northman, like men, real men, manly men, hairy men.
Unlike Alexander Skarsgård, who is shaven from the eyebrows down.
Goddamn right. We may or may not do The Bad Guys, but that's only because I know that I'm taking my son to go see it. I might actually just review it with him.
Just real fast.
Yeah.
Alexander Skarsgård, God bless that man's commitment to the gym, because damn, that guy. No, look, Mark, you know I'm not. Don't do that. I can be a man who's straight and acknowledge the efforts of another human being.
That's all I was
And
doing.
on that note, I'm going to step away and go let my dog out.
That's all I was doing. Don't get sensitive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sure.
whatevs. Calm down. You're all excited. Anyway,
You're the one turning red in the face.
So it's because I'm out of shape. So I'm just going back to Sonic. We're contending that Sonic beats Batman and maybe even beats Fantastic Beasts. Do you think he can three-peat, or do you think Batman takes it back, or do you think either the bad guy? It's not going to be the Northman, but do you think either the bad guys or the unbearable weight of massive talent end up taking the weekend?
I think that's a two. I think that by that point, it's a. I think Sonic probably repeats.
Mm.
Look, I think, given what we've seen of the Batman, and bear in mind we've got a couple of clips, trailer. Like we don't have a tremendous amount, but given what we've seen, which of those movies are you going to take your 6-year-old to see?
Yeah. And then we have one more week of nothing. And then finally Doctor Strange meets the X-Men, which then this conversation starts all over again with yet another $1 billion property. So
you know what? No.
No.
I don't think it makes $1 billion.
You're out of your mind.
Here's the thing.
Hang on, Jason needed to weigh in.
Okay, apparently I misread that. Sorry, man.
Hey, Jason. No, here's the thing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Multiverse of Madness is going to do gangbusters its opening week. Absolute gangbusters. When there's no X-Men in it, how well do you think it holds on?
See, here's where you're wrong, and this is really where we got to move on from this. We're at an hour and a half now. One, there's been some buzz going around. There's been some stuff on like Screen Rant and Comic Book Resources. Shut up, Robert. That Wolverine is in some iteration of Wolverine is in the movie. And then all of you nerds soaked your pants the night of the Super Bowl. I saw you. I felt it. It was raining wet pants all over me as you heard Patrick Stewart's voice, and there was wetness enveloping the atmosphere.
I did not.
Apparently, apparently it's so wet that your arm is disappearing.
Anyway, you people heard Patrick Stewart's voice and moistened the atmosphere. It was ridiculous.
Okay, believe it or not, I hadn't seen that trailer.
Mm-hmm.
If they're doing that, hang on. Let me briefly revise.
Say what's been setting the boards alight is actually a freeze frame of a character that there is evidently a massive, really ugly debate about whether that is Tom Cruise as Superior Iron Man, or that's Polaris.
Yeah,
because well, it's kind of hard to tell because it's an action shot and it's obviously a CGI person in the background. And one person zoomed in and said that's facial. Someone said that's facial hair. Another one said no, that's black skin. And I said I don't fucking care.
Bravo. Hang on. You said you don't fucking care, Alexis. I'm so very proud of you.
No, I'm sorry. When you get close to releases like this, I stop looking for spoilers. I still want to be surprised by something in the movie.
Right. Last word on this. Why you don't your revision? I'm sticking with it's going to make $1 billion because X-Men. Your counterpoint, and then we're done.
Hang on. At this point, knowing a bit more of that, I'm probably going to go with you. Here was my argument. Here was my case for this. Okay.
In 50 words or less.
There was tremendous amount of hype and curiosity around Multiverse of Madness. If it fails to live up to that, it's not making $1 billion.
Okay.
Straight up. I think it'll still be successful. I'm not predicting an Eternal situation here, but there's a serious question of how much rewatch value goes into the theatrical run of a movie that is hyped as one thing and then delivers something else. That's the crux of where I was coming from there. If we're getting the X-Men and Magneto's daughter and Tom Cruise and another reappearance of Robert Downey Jr.
Wait, I didn't know. Wait, isn't Polaris the name of the superhero that we got from WandaVision?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
No. You're right.
Polaris-
No. Polaris is the green-haired mutant gal.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
Okay.
daughter
Then
of
what's
Magneto.
what's the name of the superhero? Monica
Oh,
Rambeau.
What is she?
It begins with a P. I know that.
Yeah, that's why I
Pulsar?
thought you were right at first.
Yeah.
Is she Pulsar?
That's the one. Okay. In any case, the bottom line is you're not wrong. If there's not enough cameos by every superhero that's ever been in a movie since Howard the fucking Duck, yes, people are going to get pissed and people will stop going to see the movie. However, that's probably not going to happen. They went into reshoots for this very reason.
Yeah, again, that was my contention. Like,
Yeah.
that's my point about
We're getting everybody. We're getting Leah Thompson, Howard the Duck. We're getting Swamp Thing. We're getting, all the Batmans, all 72 of them. We're getting Christopher Reeve hyped up, just put him on a cross and carry him out. We're getting everybody. Everyone's going to be in this movie, and
That's very poor taste.
Hey, I'm still saying that unless they have Bruce Campbell as the Beyonder, that's going to be my level of disappointment.
And the air will moisten with everyone's stuff.
Well,
And
we know Bruce Campbell's in it, and there's only one Marvel character that Bruce Campbell should play: Beyonder. Robert, you're with me on this.
100%, 1,000,000%.
He's got to be a waiter.
Look, if Bruce Campbell, well, first of all, of course, he's in it. Sam Raimi's directing.
Yes,
Bruce
and that's why he's going to end up being a waiter. You're a busboy or some shit.
He actually released a faux script on April Fool's Day that actually had Doctor Strange going through different universes looking for the Darkholm and coming across Ash holding on to the Book of the Dead. He's like, wrong book. Anyway, it was April Fool's. It was obviously a joke, but at the same time, like,
to be
damn,
fair,
that would have been awesome.
That really would have been awesome. I mean, look, if we can't get Bruce Campbell back for the next Evil Dead series, and I don't blame him, given his physical condition, for not wanting to do that again. I mean, his statement as such is like, my knee was shot during half the time we were shooting Ash versus Evil Dead, and I just gutted through it because I'm freaking awesome. But I can't. It's essentially what he said. Like, he was not nearly that grandiose about it because he's not that guy. But
all know that. No, it's the truth.
But yeah, that's the truth. Like, it's okay. My knee sucks, and I don't really want to run today. But the director says I have to run, so I'm gonna run.
All right, let's go ahead and do the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
The critical review is brought to you by Grammarly. For you listeners of Damn You Hollywood, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M network to download Grammarly for free. And as you can see, this is yet another illustration of what I mean by when you make perfectly wonderful product for people to enjoy, the people will come out to enjoy the product.
You make a stupid movie badly, but it's got enough shiny things to distract people. Most people are stupid.
You will be rewarded for your endeavors. Critics be damned. Quality be damned. Promisingly cast, but misleadingly titled, Uncharted mines its best-selling source material to produce a disappointing echo of superior adventure films. Is the critical
second half of that was correct.
Yeah, I disagree with the correctness of the casting, but the rest of that is correct.
I'm assuming they were again talking about how they're good actors and they do good with what they're given, even though they are not probably the best choices for the roles.
Could be, but
all right. Let's start off with Joshua Mackey of Geeks of Color.
Vaunted publication.
I miss the days where geeks got pushed into lockers and shoved down a flight of stairs. I just want to go ahead and say that.
Could be worse. Could be the days that we saw in Nightmare Alley, where if you were a geek, you were biting the head off of a chicken.
I miss those days too. Uncharted seems like it's
exploitative days.
Uncharted seems like it's a film that knows what it's meant to do, and that's to entertain, which it does well. It's
No, it
not the
doesn't.
next coming of it. It's not the next coming of Indiana Jones, but it's an enjoyable 116-minute ride.
Okay, look, buddy.
You
If you
reek
don't
of
understand.
desperation.
If you don't understand that this is supposed to be the second coming of Indiana Jones, and instead your response to this particular IP is, well, things went boom, I invite you to enjoy the next Michael Bay film.
Mark, do me a favor, scroll back up, please. Up. Keep going.
Where do you want me to go?
Really, KCTV5? That's the quote you got from your movie. That's the TV station I used to work for.
Okay, I'll just read it now. I was going to skip this one because it's that stupid, but
Yeah, exactly. I was like, why is that coming out? Why is that coming out of Channel 5?
Lanita Cook of Alexis Hejna's Backyard. Holland is very funny. It's so much fun, and it sets up for a sequel. And I can see Russia from my house.
You got to dig your little chestnut in there.
Yup.
Yeah, I mean, it's appropriate there. You could have concluded that sentence with what you said, and it still would have made sense.
You know, I know I sound like snarky, and as Chris Bailey calls me a hater, but I do value the fact that the internet has given a voice to somebody who wouldn't have had a voice in this kind of a forum, like myself and Robert and Alexis, and the many people who I love and respect here in the Radulich Broadcasting Network. The downside of that, the Faustian bargain, is you get people like this who have just as much right to espouse their stupid opinions as I do mine. Louisa Moore of Screen Zealots. My favorite movie genre is action adventure, and
No
it's
one
rare to
cares.
find a big studio film that gets it as right as Uncharted. I loved it. Did my fucking son write that? Jesus Christ, lady.
What's with the I Uncharted and the lowercase I period? I loved it.
It's supposed to be italicized. It's a formatting error in transition.
Oh, okay, you're right.
One, no one cares about your personal preference. Let me be clear about that. If you're a critic, some of you bleeds into your reviews. That's fine. If you start your review with "I love X," congratulations, you failed 5th grade writing. Go back.
You're not wrong. A good critic can find a way to put in their personal beliefs and yet maybe a little bit of a personalization with something about themselves into it without it being,
Autobiographical.
I was going to say second grade show and tell.
Neil Minow of Movie Mom, top critic. It achieves the primary goal. It achieves the primary goal of based on in video game movies, which is that the non-stunt parts like storyline and character don't get in the way of the stunt parts, which are the reasons we are there.
Wow.
That hurt my brain.
You're an idiot. I mean,
So
you're
bad.
that is straight up. Okay, one, that's dismissive to an entire genre of entertainment and storytelling. Just straight up dismissive of it.
Number 2,
Two,
that is horribly written.
it's a badly constructed sentence. 3, look, video games movies don't have a great track record. That doesn't mean we grade on a curve here. That's just bad critiquing.
Seriously, the stunt parts. The stunt parts.
You know, I appreciate the
At
internet
least
for
learn
all
proper terminology.
Action
Lazy.
sequence.
You know, I appreciate the internet for all it's given us in terms of giving a voice to the voiceless, and I certainly wouldn't have one without the internet. But the Faustian bargain is you get to hear opinions like this one. You see where I'm going with all this? Jana Monji of Age of the Geek. I feel like this is all your fault, Alexis. You and your geek culture and your geek podcast, and
that is not my fault, okay? I'm not.
You brought this into this world.
No, Big Bang Theory brought this shit into this world. That is not on me.
This is your fault.
No, Mark.
Geeks were perfectly fine in the basements of the world, keeping quiet because they were afraid to get beat up for liking what they liked, and now they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah, that's Big Bang Theory's fault.
She's right.
You're just ganging up on me.
Deal with it.
No,
she's right.
It's your fault, Alexis, and I lay this squarely at your feet. In the age of the geek, the age of the geek.
Mark, you managed to break yourself before you broke me, at least.
I'm just so tired of all of this. This film, hang on. This film was good, clean fun with a little bit of history and sightseeing added to the mix.
Wow, it's a bit of a travel log where a guy gets his throat cut, but they draw on the mark with lipstick because it has to be clean for all the children to watch.
Holland and Wahlberg have good chemistry, not exactly buddies, but
These
close
are
to mentor and student.
These are big name actors who I'm loosely familiar with. Ergo, I think they have good chemistry despite
Hey,
what the
I
movie,
said they had good chemistry, okay? I actually said that.
despite
Wait,
the poor
what's
writing.
that line about the crosses? Go back up. That wasn't all of it. She said something about the crosses. What was that?
The crosses are both golden double. Buckle up in 4DX if you can. That is ad copy, you dumb fuck, not a review.
This person copied the press release that they were given by the studio. That's
The
what
crosses
that's what
are
that was.
both gold and double. What the? I know what she's referring to.
Hang
but...
on. I'm going to give this person the benefit of the singular doubt and assume that this was not written in English and was just badly translated.
Tessa Smith of Mama's Geeky. You know, I appreciate the internet for all that it's given us in terms of giving the voiceless a voice.
Okay, do you just have that on a note card now?
But the
Nope.
Faustian bargain that we
Faustian
all had to
bargain.
deal with is people like this getting on Rotten Tomatoes while Mark and I do not.
Tessa Smith of Mama's Geeky, who I blame on Alexis Hejna. A generic, although fun action movie. If they made another Uncharted movie, I would see it in a heartbeat.
That is deeply.
Fuck my life.
I'm pretty sure Tessa just wants to see Tom Holland's abs again.
I mean, who
That is
doesn't?
so-
But you don't put that in your review.
That is so deeply unhelpful as a review of this film. Like the generic action part is somewhat
Sorry, Eddie.
useful, but the bit about, yay, I would love a sequel, like, I mean, are you writing for your own personal blog? In which case, fine. But if this is supposed to be something professional grade, stop it. Incidentally, since we're on Rotten Tomatoes, a brief shout out to a friend of mine, a guy I podcast with on occasion. Jeff Harris finally got approved to be on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
So.
congratulations, Jeff.
Cool. Why aren't we approved to be on Rotten Tomatoes yet?
Because we do this in an audio format, and there are criteria for them including audio or video podcast reviews like this that we do not meet. Specifically,
I'm assuming he
subscriber
met it.
count.
I'm assuming he met it through 411, which has
Yes.
infinitely more people following it than we do.
I believe so. Yes, he's been trying to get on there for a while. He's been rejected at least once. So I'm glad he's there. He's better than most of these idiots, apparently. I don't agree.
Of
don't
all the
agree
users
with-
I've ever had with Jeff, his writing was not one of them.
Now, I don't agree with all of his film takes, but I
Mhm.
respect his opinion, even if I disagree with it.
Yep. Adam Rosenberg of Mashable. It's far from perfect, but still a good time at the movies with Tom Holland.
You were nowhere near Tom Holland, sir. Keep your fan fiction out of this.
Robert's wife, the future Mrs. X Winfree, Tanya Lamb of Lola Lamb Chops. Uncharted. I just reading this one because I wanted to do that
I'm
joke.
aware.
Uncharted is entertaining enough, but there's nothing new to see here. You're not wrong, Lola.
yeah, I
You're
was
not-
gonna say.
You're
yes.
You're not wrong, but I feel like this is one of those things that we'd get into a fight about because I don't agree with you saying it's entertaining enough.
Jeff Harris of 411mania.com.
Hey, you found him.
The writing and dialogue are largely uninspired, and the action
True.
looks choppy and dull. Uncharted
it.
does not have the secret sauce to pull off a strong video game to movie adaptation.
You know what? He's not wrong. Good on
No,
you,
he
Jeff.
isn't.
I agree
Hey,
with you.
congratulations, Jeff. You got through your first Damn You Hollywood without being lambasted by either myself or Robert. Well
Mark's
done.
Mark's gonna try to point me in your general direction now for this
Every
segment.
single fucking time.
The same-
Actually, what he says though does bring up a point. I'll go ahead and ask you guys real quick. We've talked before about video game to movie adaptations and how it's the lowest hurdle in the history of mankind, but we've also seen a lot of success with video game to TV show adaptations. And Mark, this is something we're going to talk about on Thursday with Cuphead. Do you guys think Uncharted would have benefited if it had been done as a TV series or a Netflix series or something?
Maybe. It
No.
depends, because on the one hand, a lot of prestige film is now on television in the television format. On the other hand, Cowboy Bebop.
Let me put it like this. I think this deserves to be a big movie. I think that's what the Uncharted series is supposed to be. I'm not saying you couldn't have done a Game of Thrones level production budget for it, but that's what you would have had to do. And I'm not even sure then that the story necessarily lends itself to a full season. I just think it's supposed to be paced out more like a film. They just did a piss poor job adapting it here.
Okay.
Dan Morell of Dan Morell Reviews. We hate you, Dan. We hate you. And everyone else at Screen Rant.
Okay, hang on. Mark hates you. The rest of us just dislike you.
It does just enough to be worth your time, but I doubt it will stick in your memory for too long afterward.
That's not wrong.
I mean, I disagree with his overall conclusion, but as far as that snippet goes, yeah, that's not inaccurate.
If you just go in for a 2-hour popcorn movie and don't expect to remember it as soon as you get out, it's not terrible.
No, that's where I landed with this. I mean, we had a fun time at the movies, but the minute you start to think about any of these things or you start to reflect upon it with everything else you've experienced in your life, it doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny.
We all know who you're looking for, Mark. I trust you can find him.
You know me too well. Rachel Leichman of the Mary Sue. Ooh, the Mary Sue Robert Winfree of the Screaming Boy podcast. It's the kind of movie
you know he's going to stop listening at some point if you keep doing that joke, right?
It's the kind of movie you'd want out of the Uncharted world, and it is fun
No,
to see Tom
it's
Holland
really not.
shine doing fun stunts and bringing an iconic character like Nathan Drake to life.
You are
Okay, I'm ducking.
You are just desperately seeking mainstream attention, aren't you? Like you are just prostituting yourself out there on the corner going, please, please, please look at me and take me seriously when there's a very good reason. Oh God, the next one's Variety.
Yep, I specifically centered on that one just
All
for you, just so that you can do your bit.
Okay, bring it. Let's see what the internet equivalent of toilet paper has to go for this.
Owen Gleiberman of Variety, top critic, Red Star. He gets paid for this. Best of the best. Watchable in a thin Raiders of the Lost National Treasure of the Fast and the Furious Caribbean way.
What?
Wow. You just took two of those are utterly inapplicable to this situation. You just took big franchises that you think are stupid and mashed them together in that. That's just bad. That's just bad writing. That's poor craftsmanship. And seriously, if the best thing you can come up with is, well, it's a thinly veiled mishmash of 8 other family-friendly big-budget films, you really need to get better at your job than to just spew that nonsense out there. But then again, you might also be the most competent person working for that besotted, blighted hellhole that is Variety.
Joe Berry of Movies for Kids. One word. Uncharted is a diet version of Indiana Jones that coasts by on the charisma of its star Spider-Man's Tom Holland.
You're an idiot.
Yes.
Nicola Austin of We Have a Hulk.
You don't
Boy,
have a Hulk.
I'm getting all the good ones in today. With plenty of action-adventure moments and great chemistry between Holland and Wahlberg, but also clunky world building and dodgy visual effects, there's just enough for fans of the games to enjoy.
Oh, okay.
Question. I'm sorry.
One second.
Question. What clunky visual effect? I'm sorry. I'm actually trying to think here. I thought the visual effects were pretty good. I legit cannot think of a scene of it where I thought, well, they obviously cut the budget on that.
It's not so much the budget as it is them. Some of the stuff looks very, very fake.
Hey, Sean tuned in tonight. He says a good Uncharted movie should not be this fucking difficult. You're not wrong, Mr. Comer. He also says it is tailor-made for movies. They are the best Indiana Jones never made.
Again, correct. There's a couple of points when the visual effects when they say dodgy, I don't think they mean bad in the traditional sense, but a bit more jarring. There's a sequence where he's swinging on the cargo out of the plane. When he's kind of swinging from cargo group to cargo group that is very clearly not. There's a few shots where they go first person for some inexplicable reason that were just dodgy directorial choices.
Say most of my complaints with the visual effects was just from the over amount of quick cuts during a lot of the action scenes. I mean, again, going to that scene, the plane, I kind of liked it when he's on the cargo bits, but then when you cut back into Chloe firing her gun at the mercenaries, you can't tell jack about who's aiming at who.
No, it's edited like Michael Bay edits film, and that's not a compliment. Here's the thing. Every one of those reviews that says fans of the game will love this, I guarantee you this, never
Never
played
played the
games.
game.
Never.
That is a presumption. They're saying what they think people want to hear or what they think they know to be true without actually having experienced the game itself. That much is obvious.
I know several fans of the video games. We've had a couple of them on. Who've chimed into this show in particular. None of them liked it. Now that's not small sample size, but come on.
Again, the only thing I have heard people really talk about that they like it are not fans of the games. It's just people who say, yeah, it was kind of a fun little popcorn movie.
You know, you're the same kind of people who looked at like the most recent Mortal Kombat movie and went, fans of the games will love this. And no.
I have imagined somebody has that on a stamp at this point. That when they have to review a video game movie, they just built, they just stamp fans of the video game will enjoy this.
The same way lazy video game reviewers, whenever they come across the newest thing, will go, video games have come a long way since Pac-Man, which is such a painfully tired expression in video game reviews that the entire 3 or 4 hour review that Action Button did on the Pac-Man game is subtitled Pac-Man's come a long way since itself.
All right, folks, that wraps it up for our review of Uncharted. We are almost at the 2 hour mark, so it is time to take this home. Tomorrow, Pat and I, and Chris Bailey has opted to not finish the series because he's on a time crunch, and we'll miss him to historical wrestling things we can do as a trio. But for now, Pat and I are going to be closing out the Mania WrestleMania on its end run here. Tomorrow, we talk just about WrestleMania 17, mostly because we have to not only talk about the WrestleMania 17, but the Monday Night War, the end of the Monday Night War, and the buying and absorbing of WCW and what led to that. So that's a 2 hour show in and of itself. In the evening time, I have a double header. First, the Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing Amorphous Halo. And then because I lost power Sunday and wasn't able to record, we will be doing a rescheduled show from what we were supposed to do then. Our ongoing tribute to Black history and Black cinema. We'll be looking at Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, and Old Boy. That'll be myself and the Protocol son, Jason Teasley. And then, as Alexis has mentioned a number of times now, she will be giving a college lecture that I will be attending about the history of animation therein and a little bit about Cuphead. In the evening, when
you know what? I actually have a couple of shorts. I was tempted to send you and be like, do me a favor and watch these before the show.
Got it. She and the Protocols.
There's a cover of the Don't Mess with King Dice song by Caleb Hiles you might want to try and fit in there.
Ooh, nice. So, I was going to make him watch Skeleton Dance, Swing You Sinners, Minnie the Moocher, and Popeye the Sailor meets Sinbad the Sailor.
I've seen Minnie the Moocher.
Of course.
The skeleton, Mark, you'll appreciate the Skeleton Dance because it's what Adam Cole does right before he comes up for the boom thing.
I'm not even on my damn rim shot button, you bastard. Anyway,
the skeletons have more muscle tone than Adam Cole too. And
Take 52. Alexis, Hejna, Jason Teasley, and I will be reviewing Peacemaker, the best written show I've watched in quite a long time. Go away, Boba Fett. Go away.
Boba Fett's a terribly written show.
Shit, Sherlock. We discussed that at length yesterday.
You should have been on the show last night to agree with us.
Look, if you enjoy it, Godspeed and party on. There's plenty to enjoy in most respects, but it's badly written.
Yeah, Peacemaker is one of the best written shows I've seen in a while. It really is quite excellent.
For the record, Mark, if somebody falls out of that, I'm happy to step in.
What?
Peacemaker.
Just fucking come on then. There's a fourth spot open.
You don't need 4.
Oh my God, leave me alone. On Friday, the new Allegiant album's coming out. Jesse Starcher will be very happy to hear that. It's called Damn Them as opposed to Get 'em Jit 'em. That's a joke. that's a joke only the Metal Hammer of Doom people will understand. However, we will be re-airing our Allegiant Apoptosis review, and then we'll also have a re-air. Hey, Robert, remember the time we talked about The Wire on Everyone Loves a Bad Guy?
I do, Mark. It was a good time. I re-edited that podcast before sending it up.
Yes, well,
you decided nothing was better for Black History Month than a re-air of a discussion of The Wire.
That's correct. So, in our contribution to all things Black history and Black cinema, we'll be re-airing our Wire discussion.
Because the epitome of discussing Black history will come from a couple of middle-aged men in Florida, Utah, and wherever the hell else. Or West Virginia.
Have you not heard the rest of the 97 shows Jason and I did on Black History Month? By the way, that's ending with Pootie Tang, The Ladies' Man, and Soul Plane.
And in fairness to the point, I was not middle aged when Mark and I did that show. That's how long ago it was recorded.
All right, wrapping up.
I
my
seriously
plugs
don't
here.
even think I was 30. I was like barely 30 around then.
Yeah, he was an uncorrupted child, and look what's happened to him now after I got a hold of him.
It was 14.
You just
What if- what if
erode our
14?
souls, Mark.
I was around 14. So yeah, no, I was.
You were
I was like
you were young
28.
and pretty ones. Now look at you. Look what I've done to you.
My hairline was still not an embarrassment.
I
Speaking
was
of,
a human being once.
that's right. The Jolly Roger, the Sad Sack, formerly the Jolly Roger, the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Take 85. Robert will also be re-airing the starting off our week-long celebration of everything Batman. We'll be re-airing Everyone Loves a Bad Guy Batman villains. And in the evening, because you can't get enough of Robert and Mark together, like we're like Kermit the Frog and Fozzie the Bear, we'll be doing a alternative
Statler and Waldorf.
That's right.
Yes.
We're doing an alternative
thank you.
commentary for Chris Colbert versus Hector Luis Garcia, which is now a WBA super featherweight title eliminator since what's his nuts dropped out of it because of COVID. So
When did
look
I
for
agree
that
to
on, huh?
When did I agree to that?
Because you did. Don't argue with me. I know I wouldn't have put you on there if I didn't know for sure you had agreed to it. The fact that you can't remember these things is not my problem.
Hang on. I'm going to assume I agreed to it when the other fighter who fell out was originally there.
Maybe. In any
We're
case,
getting old, Robert. Our memories
because at that point it would have been it would have just been a title fight. We've got
Can I pull out with COVID?
No.
'Cause I know
Sun-
nothing of either guy now, so that'll be something.
Perfect. We'll have a re-airing of it'll be a syndicated source material for Jesse Starcher's discussion of Hush from back in the day. I actually think Sean Comer might have been on that. The aforementioned Pootie Tang Ladies Man and Soul Plane show, closing out our celebration of Black History Month with 3 classics. And then, yes, ladies and germs, kicking off Batman Week proper, we've got a source material for White Knight with Jesse Starcher and Evan Bevins. We've got Sean and I talking the Tim Burton years of the Batman movies of 89 and whatever Batman Returns was.
92, wasn't it?
Maybe
91 or 92.
Myself, Sam Mercati, and I think you might have been on this one, Robert. The Dark Knight trilogy. That'll be re-airing on Tuesday.
No.
Was that just me and Samer?
I think Sean was on it with you. I don't think it was me.
Okay, I don't remember anymore. We'll have re-airs of Gotham by Gaslight, the on trial that we did for that, Alexis, and then myself and Sean talking the animated Dark Knight movies.
Wait, we didn't do On Trial for Gotham by Gaslight. That was a comic strip.
There were two different shows for Gotham by Gaslight.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's just that important.
Yep. And I don't think I had I don't think at that point we had the format for comic strip just yet. Anyway, we'll have a re-air of Gotham by Gaslight, the animated movie, the animated Dark Knight Returns, a re-airing of Batman Haunted Night, a re-airing of Batman the Animated Series Long Road to Ruin Season 1 that Sean and I did. And then in the evening time, if you're sick of Batman stuff,
whatever happened to the other seasons that you guys were supposed to do?
We quit doing the show for a while is what happened.
Just giving you grief.
Myself and Dan Lasby will be doing the ESPN fight, Jose Ramirez versus Jose Pedraza. And then finally, Chris Bailey. There'll be the source material for Gotham by Gaslight. Plus, Alexis and Jesse will be hosting Tripped Up Trivia for Batman as the central topic. And then in the evening, myself and Dan Lasby will be doing an alternative commentary for UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. All right, Alexis, I hear you make jewelry and paint houses. Tell us all about it.
Absolutely. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic, and ready to go on the road here pretty soon. I move away from the coffee table so you won't interrupt me, and you still find a way.
It's in her contract. She has to be on camera at least once.
Well, when I did my last show, she didn't get on camera, but she sat on my power cord and moved the camera like 2 feet away from me. All right. Yes, we are getting ready to go back to the convention scene. We are going to be stopping off at the Lexington Comic and Toy Show, 4-day event. Really excited to be working that. After that, we got Planet Comic-Con here in Kansas City. Home show. We never miss it. We're going to be stopping off at Vision Con in Springfield. This is a fun, small show. Always happy to be there. We just got approved for a big show here in Kansas City. It's called NakaCon. It is one of the biggest anime conventions in the Midwest. So thrilled to be returning there. Looking forward to it. As always, you can find us online. Yep, there we go. We have our shops on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. You can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Be sure to check out the Instagram page. I'm really trying to build a stronger following now that we had to rebuild that thing from scratch. I need more followers to come back. It's like, I swear to God, people, it's me. It's not a spam account. So, yes. Be sure to check us out. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, Robert, take me home, baby doll.
I would, but you didn't pay for the cab, so.
I don't think he got it.
I got it just fine, but as my mother always says.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
I just wanted to watch his brain fade a little bit more. All right. I cover a bunch of stuff for 411mania.com, mainly professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. My professional wrestling spate at the moment is AEW's Dark Elevation on Mondays. It's their YouTube show, not Dark, but the other one. This one features 80% squash matches. In fact, it was a higher ratio than that this week. But you can find my report for that. I cover MLW, whatever they're doing, on Thursdays, and WWE SmackDown on Fridays. So as the WWE gears up for WrestleMania season, one can expect that they'll be trying to put their best foot forward. They won't do it, but we can certainly expect them to. So you can find me over there in the wrestling zone of 411mania.com. I cover mixed martial arts action whenever the UFC does something, occasionally Bellator, but Bellator tends to run at a time that doesn't make it conducive for me to cover them, and I kind of joke about them entirely too much for to give them. But I mean, if they have a really big event, I'll cover it, and it's not running into conflict with everything else. At the moment, they tend to run a lot of Friday evenings, and let's face it, when it comes to 411 Mania, SmackDown will outdraw Bellator night. Like 100% of the time. So the market demands, and therefore I go. But on Saturdays, I cover UFC events when they have them. This week is UFC on ESPN Plus 60. Was supposed to be Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush in a really good fight. Sadly, Dariush suffered a injury as a broken fibula. I think it's down by his ankle. So that sucks. He fell out. But in stepping is Bobby Green, who fought at UFC 271 just like a couple of weeks ago. So Bobby Green's going to try to get the biggest win of his career against the next conceivable contender in Islam Makhachev. So I'll be covering that. If you want a full preview of that particular card, I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast on Sundays. It records Sundays. It goes live late Sunday, early Monday. This week was a review of the previous week's event, which was decent in practice, but not worth too much discussion outside of that. And a preview of this week's coming event. So if you're interested in the sport of mixed martial arts, please give that a follow. I deeply appreciate it. And I'll be back here the next time I'm back here. So I got a fairly busy March coming up. We've got movies, we've got TV parties, we've got all of it.
Yeah, you'll be back for the Batman. And then we'll all be back for Turning Red and Cheaper by the Dozen. And then you and I finish off March with Deepwater and Windfall.
Yeah, and interspersed in there will be Disenchantment Part 4. I can't believe they're trying to drag that out even further.
And then The Legend of Vox Machina with you and Ronnie.
That's going to be fun.
If you say so. All right, folks, thanks for joining us here on our...
You know what? I try to be positive. I try to be positive once, just once.
Okay.
And you don't believe me.
Thank you for joining us once again on our review of Uncharted. For Alexis, Hejna, for Robert Winfree, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.